start.
Okay, then I will call the meeting to order.
1 second. Sorry about that.
No problem. I will call the meeting to order at 10:32. First thing on the agenda was introductions. Do we need introductions with Marianne not being here and everyone knowing each other?
I think everybody knows each other, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Are we good passing with bypassing the introductions, or do we want to go through them?
Mike or Andy? You good?
You guys good?
I'm good, but I'm Andy at Land and Water Conservation.
Can you hear us okay, Mike?
You can hear us.
I'm thinking Mike might not be responding.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah, he is frozen. You're right.
He was.
No, he's gone.
Do we have a quorum without Mike?
Yes,
Okay.
barely. 5 of 9.
Okay. Well,
Okay, well, we'll
Okay.
continue then. We need to have election of officer for the vice chair. Do we have any nominations?
I'll nominate Paul Schmidt.
Do we have any other nominations? Because I gotta do it 3 times, right?
Yes.
Any other nominations? Any other nominations? If not hearing any, Paul, thank you for stepping forward.
I think we
Do we
need
have to move?
Oh, we have to vote on it
Yeah,
yet?
we have to vote, sure.
So vote even though there's
Do I
one.
move to close nominations for vice chair and cast a unanimous ballot
I'll second that.
for Paul?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
No, we're set with that.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
You're good.
Okay.
Congratulations, Paul.
Wow.
We did
All
talk
those
to
in
Paul in
favor?
advance. We did ask him in advance.
Oh, yeah.
Like 3 minutes ago.
Well, I don't want to give him too much time to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to give you time to think about it.
Next thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from December 1st of 2021.
Whoever wrote these, wow.
That was Eric from Emergency Management and his secretary.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I assume we went over all that stuff.
Yes.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now I guess we're up to reviewing the land records program updates, and
Yeah.
Jerry, would you
well,
like to take over for this part?
Yeah, we can just go around the room. We'll start with our end of it. Adam got stuff to bring up.
sure. So I think last year we talked about getting plots of survey online. That's been completed. So all plots of survey that we have records for are now available to the public. They're separated into, let me see if I can screen share here. So when you go onto our website now, you can go to survey access, and for the time being, we have them separated into plots of survey from around 1940 to around 2000, and then stuff that's newer than that because they're organized differently. And then you can go into either section. So if you go to the newer stuff, which is what we got online more recently, that will link you out to OneDrive, and you can go by the section, town, and range, and find the individual plot of survey records. The older stuff is not quite as well organized, and there's some data out there that needs to be redacted, some pages. Dave Levine in our office has started working on that and that cleanup. So that's a major effort. We did that in coordination with IS because it needed to get migrated out of a different system, reorganized and put online. So that was multiple years of work toward that. So now those are accessible to the public. So surveyors don't need to come into our office to physically see those plats of survey. And we're working toward trying to organize the older stuff better to make it more user friendly. Right now it's all available, but
When you say redacting stuff, is it stuff the public can see now that we're taking off?
it's stuff that when we met with you in Corporation Council, I think in 2019, there are some recorded documents that are out there and some other things that are
That-
correspondence that are inappropriate. And we put in coordination with you and Corporation Council, we put a disclaimer on there with the intent of long-term going back and pulling all that stuff out that shouldn't be there and reorganize and stuff. Right now, you can go to some areas and there's one PDF that's like 100 pages long that has like half of it might not be necessary to be there, and the other half is accumulation of a bunch of different plats of survey. So we're stripping that all out and having it be individual documents and removing the stuff that's inappropriate to be in that grouping. So that work is happening. It's still,
It takes a while.
yeah. But we're working on that right now. If I recall correctly, Dave made it through the city of Appleton, which is, there's not that much in the county, and all of the city of Menasha, which
Oh, that's. a
was
good
an
chunk right there.
undertaking. Right now he's working in the city of Neenah. So that will progress, but it'll be a while, as you're aware, it'll be a while before that gets done.
So what can the public see?
So if they know what section their property is in,
If you pull up a property,
it's not separated by property because it could be surveys that don't correspond to an existing property. It could be a historic property.
okay,
So right now, if you know the section, town, and range that your property is in, you can go and find this individual subdivision plat. Zoomed in weird here, but so these are not recorded documents. These are documents that were a survey done by a surveyor for a property owner or a potential property owner that wanted to have a survey documenting the current boundary that was there, not dividing new land. So that's why it doesn't need to be recorded. But if somebody's trying to validate their property ownership, they can go here and look for historic documents that a surveyor may have had. It's occasionally helpful to property owners. It's very helpful to surveyors. So if a surveyor is hired by a property owner to say, give me more information about this property before I buy it, they can go out here and look at this and then look at the documents in the Register of Deeds office, and the two of them will give them a better picture on how they would proceed with helping that property owner.
And surveyors are required by law to file with the, with the county. They're required to file any and all plats of survey, but they don't get recorded in the Register of Deeds office like other documents would. But they are required to put them on file at the county, and so other surveyors can access this stuff to know that this work went on.
okay,
We're trying to streamline the access because there have been many instances of surveyors that are working in Green Bay or Madison that want to access these documents. And previously, if they wanted access to all of them, they'd have to physically come to our office and use the computers in our office. So it doesn't address every issue that we want to streamline the process for, but it addresses the majority of the challenges that have happened up to this point.
how do you find the section, town, and range?
It should be in the legal description,
Yeah,
or you can look at our parcel viewer. So if you look at the parcel viewer, you can get the section, town, and range from there.
yeah, but how do you find that?
If you say I were to just find any parcel from the parcel profile report,
Yeah,
you can click that. It takes a second to generate because it's building that live.
but most legal descriptions today don't show section town and range anymore.
Many don't, but when this thing pops up, you can look right here. We do have information about the public land survey system, section, town and range. So the section, town and range is right here. So then you go from town 18, section, town 18, range 16, section 20, and go back to that repository and look in that folder to see if there's any surveys that are relevant to your.
Okay,
your
why
property.
wouldn't it attach right there where you,
It could. We're working toward that, but
okay,
the older documents for the incorporated areas were not organized by section, town and range. It was just organized by municipality. So in the case of Menasha, you just had to look at the whole folder for everything in the city of Menasha. And that's one of the things that Dave's cleaning up. He's removing the stuff that shouldn't be. He's relabeling them and reorganizing them by section, town and range. And that's something that we seek to do to make more efficient in the future. Because you're right, that would be much more convenient. And then we're going to merge those two together and make it much more streamlined for the customer.
by the time you retire, that'll be.
There's a possibility we could, the majority of the challenge, probably, yes, it'll take a while. But
There's a lot of paperwork involved when you start going through the whole county.
There's stuff we can get quite impatient with because it just takes so many resources you got to stick into this just to get this stuff organized in a useful way. And
there will be steps in the process, incremental steps to make it better, but I can't say, by the end of next year, it's going to be perfectly organized. That's not the case.
But that's a big step that you got now just to get it out there. That was a big step.
Yeah, that was probably the most critical piece because then at least it's accessible. And if surveyors are doing work in a different city and they're doing it after hours, they don't need to be reliant on us and our schedule. They can do it at will. That was the most important step.
So yeah, the section, town and range.
Yep.
And now what program did you go into?
If you're on the county's GIS site, if you go to survey access.
Survey access?
Yep. And then
that's new, isn't it?
It's been around for about 2 years. At first we had the older documents, the documents from 1940 to 2000. The stuff that we added is the newer stuff from 2000 on.
Do we see that as the public?
Yep.
We do.
Yep. That's been around for a few months now.
Oh, okay.
So it's relatively new. And we had a lot of coordination to do with IS to get it out of the other system and managed appropriately. If it wasn't for IS helping us with that wouldn't have happened.
Okay.
Any other questions about the Plaza survey?
Well, lots of them, but we'll continue.
Okay.
we talk to them separately.
Yeah.
We submitted the annual parcel data to the state as we do every year. That went reasonably well. We worked with the Parks Department to update buoy mapping that had been done a number of years ago, and we refreshed that, and we're working with them to help coordinate their maintenance program, and the county executive's office used that to discuss some of those needs with the state, with the legislature. I've coordinated a lot of work with IS to work on server lifecycle analysis and replacement, so that we're replacing servers and other technology infrastructure in accordance to their schedule to make sure we don't have something that breaks mid-year, and trying to do as much prevention as we can. Another recent improvement that we made is we've had these apps out here for a while. We've been adding more. What we clarified is in the town, Jerry could probably describe the zoning in Winnebago County a little bit better than I can, but essentially there's shoreline zoning, county zoning, town zoning, and municipal zoning. These apps are specifically talking about the town zoning, where the towns have their own zoning. So if you want to look at zoning in the town of Black Wolf, you can click here and it will open up a specific app that Diane created to talk about the zoning in that town. So that's a lot more specific, and it's called out a little bit more clearly than it was in the past. You could get there in the past, it was just not very easy for the end user. So that we're highlighting that a little bit more specifically. We're trying to make more incremental improvements to make things easier for the public to access and more intuitive. The land records modernization, we met last year, that was submitted to the Department of Administration and accepted. So that process is done for another 3 years. Redistricting finally came to an end. It was dragging on a little bit at the tail end, but Diane finished the coordination with the towns after the state and U.S. Supreme Court changed some rules, which had to have the municipalities redo some stuff.
Wisconsin Supreme Court.
And U.S. Supreme Court.
Oh,
It was both.
yeah, right.
And then back and
I
forth
think
a few
you're right.
times.
Yeah.
Pick a plan, just pick a plan.
So we don't have, that's behind us for another 8.5 years.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
No problem.
Good.
We supported the 911 center through their software upgrades, and that bled over a little bit into this year. Their system is fully upgraded now. I work to help support the supervised release committee. That's been an ongoing process, and hopefully we're moving toward having that be a little bit more streamlined in the future, hopefully after the end of this year.
Is that the section 980 stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a committee member on that committee, and mainly there to help facilitate them understanding if placements are appropriate based on the descriptions of what's not allowed in the
All
statute.
the criteria that's, you know. so it's
I have
all-
8 of
it's-
10 layers protecting me.
8 of 10. And we do coordinate with other offices like Mary's when they're trying to look for available properties.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I recently worked on was to help try to define and clarify the benefits of GIS to the county. So I recently distributed this to, and I can, Mike or Andy, if you're interested in this, let me know and I can give you a copy. I think you've already got one of those, but this is a diagram that kind of shows how GIS is serving the county and the citizens. And then I added some stuff on the backside that's mainly for staff, but because most of this committee is made of staff, I included that. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with GIS, so we're basically just trying to simplify what we're talking about. So at the bottom, we're talking about the capabilities that we have as GIS staff, Andy at Land and Water, even tying into what Mike Zieg does at East Central Planning. There's a lot of capabilities, analytical capabilities, data management, linking between systems. And there are some primary data sets and ways we deliver that data. There's delivery towards staff and a variety of subject matters that we've been tasked to maintain either through statute, through county policy or intergovernmental agreements. There's also stuff that we directly serve the public with. Paul, that's the GIS website that we were talking about and trying to streamline it for the community and community partners to access. And then there's other specific systems that we support, the most substantial of which is the dispatch system. We have a very specific process where we push data from our system into their system. So when the 911 calls come in, they can route to the appropriate locations and there's double checks. So these fundamental things, most of the end users don't really care about our data. They care about how it helps them, the decisions it helps them make, or the impacts it helps them decide when they're making decisions that impact the public. So this data-driven decisions, these are the applications and other maps that we help produce to help people make decisions or help them with their work. There's a ton of stuff that goes on at dispatch or the treasurer's office that I really don't understand the details of. I know the high level stuff, but the tools are intended to be able to help facilitate people doing their job in their world. And then the impact directly to the public, we hope to present this data so in a way that people can help us to make decisions like the 980 stuff is this potential placement inappropriate given the state statute? Is it too close to a daycare or a park, for example? On the backside, primarily intended for staff, at least the top half, we've redone some of our GIS internally to try to make it more easy for staff to use. So if you go to our internet site now, we're representing all the applications that are available to staff. And then if you sign in with credentials, if you have more specific access for a specific department, you see even more content. So this is intended to make it easier for staff to be able to find tools that could potentially help them. And we'll be expanding this in the future. So far, I've gotten some good feedback, but if you use it and have feedback from me, please let me know. And then the bottom half, to go to your question, Paul, some of the feedback we have gotten is that using the parcel viewer, that there's a lot of good information there that's helpful, but it can be confusing sometimes. So one of our future goals is to try to put out more help tools to help people understand how to use that. And my first crack at that was for staff on the bottom half of the page and how to use the parcel viewer and the parcel profile report. So I just wanted to give you guys access to that. And if you have feedback, let me know, and we can move forward with that. As far as things we're currently working on, I already mentioned the Plaza survey and working to improve access for staff for the GIS tools. We're also working to evaluate stuff for next generation 911. This is a movement in the public safety community to streamline how 911 services are accessed and how locations are accessed. I won't get into details because it's pretty complicated, but essentially we're trying to standardize our data to make sure it's compatible not only for our county's future needs, but intergovernmental needs for 911 service across the state. There's going to be grants released for that, and we're evaluating that stuff and trying to make incremental progress to prepare for that.
Yeah, we're working closely with the sheriff's department on that.
Yeah. Lastly, and Jerry and Natalie might talk more about this specifically, but in preparation for the budget, I went through and reviewed the revenues coming from the Register of Deeds office. They're certainly not as high as they were last year, but last year kind of blew past most people's expectations.
Oh, definitely. We won't be doing that this year.
No, we were modest. We were relatively modest in our targets for last year. So we're actually pretty much on target for what. That was my conclusion as well. So it's not like we're going to go blow past the target we had last year, but it's not the end of the world. We're pretty solid from my view of the stuff when we were preparing the budget. Right now. Yeah. Nobody can predict the future. It could get better. It could get worse.
Yeah.
So
let me know how busy my office is
going to get. Has the past 2 years been good, Paul?
Yeah. That's been good. This has been good so far.
This year so far.
Our numbers are down.
Oh, they're going to be down.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the past 2 years.
Yeah. So that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Liz, would you like to go next? Or?
Sure. So normally I don't speak about anything with tax bill time because it's something we'd rather forget. So, but it was an impact on my office with the Village of Fox Crossing this last year because of the fact that beginning in early June, they hadn't had anything into the county as far as their assessment roll, which would allow us then to do the tax bills and specials and all that. So we worked extensively with them and guided them, the assessor for Village of Fox Crossing and the Village of Fox Crossing staff. And then we facilitated their lengthy process of the assessment roll completion. And due to the assessor's delays, we weren't able to get the statement of assessment to the Department of Revenue until November 18th of 2021. And we were working simultaneously then with the other 17 municipalities trying to get their specials and their tax bills and that going. And of course, then that rolled over and impacted their state assessed manufacturing, real estate, and personal property rolls that the county's responsible for manually entering. There's nothing that's electronic with that. It's a manual enter, review, and verification. We weren't able to get that done until late in the year, and it wasn't even available from the state until December 2nd. So once again, the same time that we were working on the tax bills for the other 17 munis. We had to stop and work on this village box crossing information to get them caught up. Then this last year, we processed hundreds of recorded documents that were problematic and in need of research for current ownership on the 2021 tax bills. Because as these documents come through and they're recorded, a lot of times there's issues with them, but due to lack of time or possibly staff or whatever, they get set aside. And then before a tax bill, we have quite a large stack sometimes to go through. But our goal is always to try to get those done so that the most current name and address is on the tax bill. So that nobody's like, hey, what happened to my bill? You know, I purchased this in October or in April and it's not changed over.
Would you get that information then from the transfer return?
Partially, we get the documents that are recorded in Register of Deeds, and then we review those, and we have a specific e-return that is available to us. That's just a partial thing of the transfer return that gives us the mailing address, because that's all we're interested in, where to send the mailing address. And then last year we started a program where if somebody sells a parcel of land, but they're using that site address as their mailing on other parcels, we contact them, we contact the attorney or the title company, get their phone number, and then we do a conference call with the municipality so that they can change that address. Because otherwise, if they forget to change it, which a lot of them do, then the tax bills, their tax bills that they've retained the parcels on will go to that new owner. So it's a new project we started last year, and I think it's working really well, you know, because it gets, a lot of times the customer will say, oh, I thought that was changed, or, oh, I contacted the post office. I'm like, but we won't get that information unless Mary Treasurer has to send something out that's a delinquent notice. That's the only way the county would get it from the post office. So, but that's worked well so far. Then also we had a process, a change on our website to remove the state taxes field from the property tax bills and the related forms. And that was per State Department of Revenue mandate. We collaborated with the municipal assessors and worked with their software vendor, Market Drive, for format verification as a result of Transcendent Technologies, which is our software. They made changes from Land Records Windows version to web application for the work roll process. And then I implemented that new online work roll process and created the municipal assessors 2022 work rolls on the Ascent Web, including the FTP site information for the export and the production of all the associated reports. And we got that done by the target date of March 31st, 2022. And all 18 units were done by then. But then in doing that, I discovered problems while implementing that new work roll creation format. So I offered some insight and suggestions into solutions to our software vendor, because the information that I was finding that was incorrect affected both real estate and the personal property. And the last thing I have on my list is this year, there was something new. State Act 55 was amended. And now it mandates that the county has to submit the municipal tax bills in XML format to the Department of Revenue annually by March 15th. And that also includes their review and acceptance of the XML municipal files by the DOR. So you can get them done March 14th and you may send them in and get them back. But our Winnebago counties was done by March 15th because I had sent them in a couple of weeks early just to make sure they were done and it was the right format, and it worked pretty good this year. There was just a few things I had to change. So, and that leads me to one other thing. We did ask the assessors on their personal property, because we just import their personal property. They have control over the names and the addresses. So we had asked them to please remove all abbreviations, any characters, because we never know if they're going to increase the security on that XML where, you know, it won't accept certain things, and we don't want to have to go back and redo a lot of stuff in that XML format. So I thought it best just to have them remove all the characters in that, and then we don't have to worry about that part.
What does the assessor have to do with personal property?
Well, they go out and they expect the personal property owner to send them a statement of what they have. If they don't hear from them, then they can mark that as doomage.
Okay.
And then the personal, they put that information into their market drive software. And then we can import that into our system. But of course, for it to match our system, there's certain things that have to be done. The criteria have to be met. And that usually what takes the longest is they haven't met the criteria. And then once we import in there, then we verify it all and we check the values in that. So they have sole control over name changes and address changes on personal property, except for the state manufacturing rule, which comes in November for us. Then we have control over the names and addresses for the state manufacturing and state assessed. But there's a way in our software that we can just only pick those that are state assessed so that we're not touching any of the local assessors' information. And when we, even with the real estate, we only export and import. And they'll say sometimes, well, I have one change. Here's the parcel, make the change. It's like, we don't do that. It's like that protects them, it protects us. Because the first time that we had this system, one of them called and said, you must have changed something. I said, we don't change anything. We use your import. So, and it, protects them that they can feel confident in the county that we're not going out there and changing any values on their locally assessed parcels. The state manufacturing parcels, yes, that we have to do, but not their locally assessed. So
What did you say that the state made you remove from the tax bill?
That state taxes, there used to be a field out there, state taxes, and they got rid of that a couple of years ago. So now they wanted it removed from the tax bills and all the associated reports so that that state taxes field didn't show up.
Was it 2017 the state stopped implementing a levy on the tax bills? I think it was 2017.
I could
But
be.
the state stopped having a levy.
The time goes
But the
by
line was
awfully
still,
fast.
they still kept the line on the tax bill but
Right, but it
now
always
they
just
said
read zero.
zeros.
So finally they said they wanted that removed. So I made that happen. So it's not out there anymore.
Okay.
The part with the Village of Fox Crossing where you were helping them, are they caught up for like this year so that you won't have the same issue?
No, they're behind again this year. So we've been working with them. But
They've had their open book and board of review, right?
They've had their open book and their board of review, and the county wasn't able to give them anything for the board of review because they hadn't sent in any correct data for us to use. So the Village of Fox Crossing, the clerk, the administrator, the finance director and deputy finance director, they all know what's going on with this. So I wanted to keep them informed this year because of what we went through last year. So we're keeping on top of it.
Is that because they're doing the reassessment every single year?
No, I don't believe that's why.
That's why, okay.
Yeah.
Fox Crossing is doing an annual reassessment. Oh, we are.
No, they're not doing an annual reassessment.
Full.
Not a full.
Not a full?
No.
Just seems like I get a notice all the time.
Yeah.
4 years in a row for my sister.
Oh, really?
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
That's why it seems like it's annually.
They might do a market revaluation. When they do that, you'd get a notice if they decide that something needed to be changed. But they haven't even notified me this year if they did a market revaluation or if they're a full revaluation. I know they didn't do, and they haven't done that for a couple of years. So they might be doing the market, but the market, sometimes the assessors don't let us know. So. And that's all I have. Any other questions?
Thank you, Liz.
Right.
thanks.
Thank you.
I'm
Appreciate
sorry,
it.
Sure.
I asked. Oh, you're
Oh,
just wanted to make sure that there was nothing you wanted to add to it. Mary, would you like to?
Sure, I will go ahead. The tax software program is looking to switch everything, and this doesn't affect the public, but it's internally moving all the functions from a Windows thick client program to a web program. The majority of the treasurer's programs or functions have been moved over to web. We don't use the Windows/thick client much anymore in our office. In 2021, we accepted, or people used the credit debit e-check form of payment via the website for over $1.9 million worth of transactions. In 2020, I thought it was up due to COVID, but in 2020 it was 1.7 million. So it was up 200 million in 200,000, I'm sorry, in 2021 compared to 2020. So it continues to be used. We completed a lottery credit audit. Lottery credit is a credit on your property tax bill for owner occupied property only. And we do it for the 18 municipalities that Property Lister does the tax bills for. We monitor those every year for additions and deletions. So this time we did that, but then we also obtained files from the cities of Oshkosh, Neenah, and Menasha and concentrated on those as well for additions and deletions. The additions are, a lot of them are for new subdivisions, new builds, to get those people the credits. But they also do have a lot of removals as well. People buy another property, keep the other one as a rental, or LLC buys the other one and stuff. So a lot of time was spent on those lottery credit audits. We mailed out the second installment reminder notices again the beginning of June. Once we mail those out, collections start jumping up, which over time has eliminated us hiring additional temporary help in July, and also overtime for the tax collection season. We are adding a new module to our tax program for additional fees. This will come in handy for properties that we start foreclosure on, because as soon as we start foreclosure, there's an additional fee that's associated with that parcel. We will then be able to put that on the website, that then anybody acquiring about a payoff amount would see that information. It would be accurate. Right now, there is a statement on there for taxes more than 3 years old may have additional fees due, to contact our office. But this way, we'll be able to put those fees right on our website. We'll also be able to use it for a return check fee. So it'll be used for that. That's being done this year. We are looking at, or I am looking at, another module that's available where property owners can receive an email or text notifications for when the tax bill is generated. If they paid on the installments, it'll be a reminder that their second installment is coming due. They can get a notification when their tax payment has been processed, and they can also get a notification if their tax bill becomes delinquent. I got the price on it and I went, holy moly. But I think it's a good feature, but it's $10,000 for the feature. And annual maintenance is about $2,500. So don't think it's going to be in next year's budget, but possibly the year after, looking at implementing that.
Consider that.
I think that would be
I can see the value of that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just the practical use of that.
And if I can get money in my office budget for it for next year, I can see if I can make it swing that way. But then the maintenance fee would be, we'll have to figure that out.
Would that eliminate the need to send out those postcards if you had that?
Some, I don't know if they would sign up for this. We do allow people to opt out of the postcard reminder notice because it does give their dollar amount due, and some people don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we say you can either pay before June 1st or you can opt out. And so then once I create the data file, then I just go in and remove their information from that data file before I send it on to the company to do them. I don't know if they sign up for this. I think they would still get the card as well. But at least, you know, also having the notification when your tax bill is generated, because we get a lot of calls in December looking for tax bills and such, you know, and also when a payment is applied too. So
when it's generated, that's not necessarily when the municipalities send them out though, right?
no, that is correct. It just says it's generated, which probably would be published.
Right.
That,
and some of the municipalities prefer that we don't publish them until they get them and mail them out.
Yeah.
But we're not able to run the bills because we have to publish to get the proof word off the bill. So that's the only way to do it. So I like it when they're published and out there, because then if people call, they say, we didn't get our bill. It's like, it's on the internet for you.
Yep. Right. We satisfy a lot of people as well.
Yep.
By saying you can bring it up online, and you know, there's times we bring it up and email it to them and stuff. So you know, this would eliminate that. The only downside to this is, so say I sign up for my current property. If I sell my property, it's up to me to go in to cancel the notification for my property. If I don't, I'm going to get the notification for that piece of property, even though I may no longer own it. It's up to the property owner to request the removal for that.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, you gotta keep in text messages about.
Right, exactly.
At some point,
You know, it's on the owner
If
to do that.
If the old owner didn't do it and then a new owner signed up, is it going to go to both of them?
That's my understanding.
Mary, is it, I mean, we could consider as a, you know, as a group, we could consider adding that to the 2023 budget, you know, for land records. I mean, you know, we are presenting a given budget, but it's up for, you know, it's subject to change based on issue or anything that.
They are giving $1,000 discount if it's in the 2023 budget.
Oh,
well then.
But that's up to, you know, that would be up to the committee as a whole if they wanted to add that money into their.
And then maintenance each year was 2,500.
$2,500.
Okay.
How have other counties dealt with the email database that's generated, like it being subject to open records for those kind of things?
Good question.
I imagine other counties probably have already done this, already dealt with that issue.
Allegheny County does have this add-on module. I don't know how that works with that. But looking closer to this, okay. So the base software is 10,000, 9,000 if it's in the 23 budget. Set up, implement, T-Tech services to set up, implement, train, and communication. 12 to 14 hours at the 155 an hour. So that's in addition to, now that I look at this, it's in addition to, my is base software is the 939. And then the other one would be, this is calculating.
That's an additional almost $2,200 if they do the
14 hours at 155.
14 times 1.
What was that?
2,170.
Okay.
So almost 2,200.
Yeah.
Could we take that out of those hours that we purchased at a cheaper price, Adam?
Yeah, depending on how many hours it is and how many hours the module we're doing this year.
The additional fees module is coming out of that block of hours.
Because we had 3.5 left from our original 10-hour purchase, and we had 20 hours, the whole thing left what we purchased this year.
Yeah.
So whatever would be left out of there, because that we got a deal on it. It was $140 an hour, I believe, wasn't it, Adam? I think it was $140 an hour.
Yeah, but I think their fees have adjusted.
Oh, I'm sure. But I mean, just for this year, for the 20, that's what we did get a deal on it. So, because I asked them, can you give us a discount?
Those notices that you send out, that's just for delinquencies?
the notices that we send out in June, the second installment reminder notices, that's for the 18 municipalities that we do the collections for. It doesn't include City of Oshkosh, Needham, Menasha, or Appleton.
Okay.
Because they do their own collections.
Did you say that that you still would have to send out the physical card? Okay. Otherwise, that the two would balance themselves out, would cost pretty easily.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, if that could be eliminated.
But
how will those other people get it through that if they don't have an email or something? I mean,
Right, that's because I'm thinking of some of the older, like,
yeah, if they don't have an email, then
like my father-in-law
they're gonna
wouldn't
need the,
do this.
yeah, they'll need the postcard done.
Because he didn't have that, but
Yeah, I mean,
there's some people
always
that
gonna
are
be
and some
that.
people aren't.
Yeah,
Um,
well, we could add something to the, well, let's see, I'm not sure what that would come under. It would come under software item or software item.
Usually we put that stuff under data processing.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay,
So just LRS maintenance, then it would just go under there, probably an additional
It could.
for the maintenance, and
Or
then,
we
probably.
the
wanna
other
put this
part-
separately.
yeah, and then just the maintenance, probably that 2,500 would probably have to go there, and then just have another line item under data
the cost
processing
of the,
for the cost of
the
the
cost.
program.
Because there's the cost of the initial,
I would recommend lumping them together for the first year, so that if the
Yeah.
county executive or the county board were to
Yeah.
cut it, it was cut as a whole and reduce the other line item as well. Just so it was either
oh,
All
I,
in
we were doing all of it or we're doing none of it.
Oh, good idea.
well, I don't, yeah, I mean, yeah. Yeah, so what dollar figure would you estimate?
I do have new sheets that just have an updated amount in the reserve fund that'll give you guys, just so you can write everything on the same sheet.
I'm thinking if we would do
Thank you, Adam.
the cost of the program and the first year of maintenance would be 13,700. That's taking the 9,000, 2,200 would be the 12 to 14 hours.
Okay,
Or do we need to budget for that if we're going to be using our block?
Probably should budget.
Budget for it in case the block gets used.
Yeah,
And then 2,500 for the first year of support or of maintenance, I'm sorry. I think that comes to 13,700.
okay,
what are they?
9,000 for the
Okay,
base software. The setup, the T-Tech would be 2,200. I think you had given me 2,170,
Yeah.
so around that up. And then 2,500 for the annual maintenance,
13,700.
13,700.
Yep.
13,700.
Yes.
so why don't we can, well, you know, we'll need to vote on this yet, but, okay. So then,
What was the name of the module again, Mary?
Email and text notifications.
for the treasurer's office, yeah.
I'm confused on if the current owner moves, that it'd be their responsibility to notify you that.
And they can do that themselves when they,
But when you get, when there's a transfer of property, you get that information.
Liz's office gets that notification. It feeds ours. We can see that, but we aren't necessarily notified that there was a sale. The ownership property lister's office does that as far as changing the ownership.
Could you ask T-Tech, just have a review process to say, I'm just thinking through Paul's question, that if there was a flag that there was a transfer of the property, to have an email trigger to go to all those people monthly and say, looks like you sold your property. If you did, can you please remove yourself from the list, verify?
What do you think that'll cost?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I say it's a nice enhancement, but
I think, you know, if they don't, I think the first time that they receive notification of a tax bill for property they sold, they're gonna be like, oh
Yeah,
crap.
I don't
to-
want to keep getting these text messages. or
Exactly,
whatever.
they'll go in and
Or they'll be
deactivate that
calling
parcel.
you, asking how do I stop
Mhm.
getting these?
I mean, it's not gonna cost us anything on our end to keep sending them if they don't notify us, right?
Because
I
it's an
mean,
automatic,
it's
it's an
yeah,
automated
it's just
process.
It's just a, yeah.
But there was another question Adam had regarding the record retention for the
Yeah.
email sent.
And I'd also,
Oh, right.
but before I don't think we would need to do this before budgeting for it, but I would also suggest talking to IS to see how that falls in with open records retention documentation for email sent.
Yep.
Because those things probably,
That's true.
those sets of correspondence probably also need to be archived
Mhm.
for open records when they're sent. And how that's done for the text message side might be different than the email side.
Yep.
So I would
So
definitely defer that to IS to provide feedback on. But it's a good idea.
Mhm.
It has merit. It's just a matter of the messy little details.
I can, yeah. I don't know if I send you some sold at the end of record retention, ask IS. Okay. I believe that is all I have for the treasurer's office.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Did anyone else have a report that they need to do besides me?
Anything,
Either one of them have,
Andy
Andy
or
or Mike have a report that they
Mike?
need?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, okay.
yeah, then maybe you
I'll-
can provide.
Then we'll go over the budget part when we get to you. For the Register of Deeds office, of course, our real estate records are down this year. It sounds like a lot because it's 22% down from last year, but last year we were way up. But we are still ahead of 2019, so that's the good part of it. I'm a little scared with how quickly it's going down. Our July is usually really busy and our numbers are down, and I haven't finished July yet, but they're way down for July. And usually this is the months we make up for when it gets the fall time and we don't have them. So I'm hoping we're going to still stay on target because we were very conservative with our target budget. We're using the same target budget for next year, which I think hopefully will be okay. But
Yeah, it's a lot of red flags out there
yeah,
for the coming.
interest rates going up, the
I was gonna say,
refinancings aren't happening.
What is our 30-year fixed rate right now? Do you know, Paul?
5-ish,
Which is really high compared to
3.
And aren't they talking about going up?
What it had been for a
0.75%
number of years,
again
correct?
at the end of this week?
They're what?
Aren't they talking about raising it at the end of this week?
Federal
again?
Reserve.
Fed Reserve, yeah. But I think a lot of the big lenders, I think they built that in already into their rates. When the rumors were going around about these 4 increases already that were coming this year, I think they built it in. So I don't know that you're gonna see, they're talking about 3/4% interest. I don't think we're gonna see a 3/4% interest on our mortgage rates.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
Then my employees, some of my employees have been still working on going through verifying the crowd. We're back to May of 81. Then the major project that we're working on is we finally got our spreadsheets for Pentegrity that we are working on. There's over 123 different parcel numbers that I need to verify to see if they're valid or invalid. And Adam, where were we? About 83 or 84,000 actual parcel numbers?
Sounds right. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, so I've got quite a few, but and a lot of that has to deal with there's areas in the Abbott system where the tax parcel format is incorrect, doesn't have the spacing right, which throws into these numbers. So as we're going through, I'm going through and correcting a lot of those. So it's a first step of many to work on getting this integrity done. I was hoping to have it up and going by the end of the year, but it's taking us so long to do each of these entries. I've got the Village of Fox Crossing done. Gail's working on the town of Algoma. And I think Chris is working on Wolf River. But those two are trying to do it plus the daily work. With it being slower, they have more time to do it, but that also puts more on the other employees to work on the crowd force verification instead of pulling them from that. So these projects are for long and continuous, just like you have. Because when you have to do a whole county and how many years worth of documentation to go verify. So other than that, we haven't done any new updates this year. I was just happy to get the Pentegrity started after how many years of waiting for all the municipality data to be given to us. So other than that, I don't have anything.
And can I just make one comment? As a user of your system, just so like Jerry and Paul and maybe Adam and Diane, the crowd that Natalie was talking about, or CrowdForce, that's a software that you guys use to turn everything over so that it was easy for us for
other people outside were hired to index the documents,
right?
And they're put under CrowdForce. And we have to go and verify those to make sure of the accuracy. So actually, if the document code says CrowdForce, that means no one's verified it yet. But there was a little problem that I found out that some of the employees was changing the code, but only checking one portion of it instead of the whole document. So now as we go back, we check every single document.
Sure. And as a user, when we see CrowdForce, and we have to click into that document to see if it was a warranty deed or a mortgage, because mortgages, they don't affect my office at all. So we have to see if it was a conveyance document. So it'll just be nice when CrowdForce is gone and the actual title of the document is there, that we don't have to click on all those.
And when we went and was working on the Anchor program and we had to go in and adjust some, we updated those at that time. So there's a lot even before 81 that are completed, but.
Oh yeah, we noticed that, because it's like, well, why did that one get in there, but then another one, but it's like, well, they've got their rhyme and reason, so.
Yeah, it's if we're in there fixing something else, we're trying to do it all at the same time, so I don't have to keep back and go looking at this document umpteen times.
Yeah.
I just want to get it all at one time if I possibly can. So that's basically all I have. It's a large project and I'm spending most of my hours, unless one from someplace else assigns other duties to us.
The Wisconsin real estate tax, is that broken down at all between municipalities, or does that entire amount go to the state?
The transfer fee tax?
Yeah.
80% goes to the state, 20% stays at the county.
The county level. Okay, I thought there was that breakdown. So who does your department get that then? Okay.
It just goes into the general fund.
That goes into the general fund. But that should be probably doing better this year than the number of actual transfers that you have, because prices are way up.
Well, yes and no. We usually got a lot of our big stuff when large businesses sold, and the large businesses aren't having their large conveyances like we're used to.
Okay.
So we're making up for part of it with the increase in the value of the sales for that portion, but it's it's still, I'm still going to meet my goal because I've always been conservative with my goals, knowing that eventually this is going to go back down. But I mean, it does help out the county and it gives them more money than what I actually budget for. And I guess I would rather just always make sure it hopefully stays that way, because you can't just you're running low, find the money, because I have no control over, just like the papers. One day we can have, we're used to in the summer having like 150 papers. Some days we'll have 80. The next day we'll have 140, 150 papers. Mm-hmm. It's all over the board as to the days. Today will be slow because it's No Mail Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But thank God for e-recording.
Last week wasn't. Tuesday was our heavy mail day. Thursday, Friday were bad days. No mail.
And we've had it where on Friday the morning would be really slow, and the afternoon we get loaded with
the old PO box.
That or the e-recordings. Oh, because 70% of our documents are e-recordings now.
Cool. Oh, really?
Cool. Which is very nice. It would be nice if we can get that up higher, but some title companies in the area still like to bring them in. Even with COVID, we thought they would switch, and they did for a little while, and then they went right back to bring them in.
With those e-recordings, do you still have an opportunity to double check the information?
Yeah.
Before it's, even though it's an e-recording, you still have the opportunity to check it before it gets recorded.
They're supposed to check them just like they would if it was a paper document, and then reject.
Okay.
But sometimes sad is when you reject them, they like to, I swear they love to just try to resubmit it and see if someone else is going to accept it before they change it. It's just like, come on, we just rejected this for this reason and you're sending it right back. But
oh, good grief.
So okay, that's basically all I have. Jerry, would you like to go over anything that you have, or the
we'll just go over the 23 budget. What we Adam just handed out an updated version of this budget sheet here.
That is changed from the one we have?
Yeah, the number that's changed is at the very bottom.
The very bottom, I see that.
Where you see Land Record Modernization Reserve Fund year in 2021. The version that went out was, we did a math error. And the actual number that's in the reserve is about $900 less. But there's still 508,935 as the year end 2021. You know, and this reserve fund has really been building up a lot over the last 4 or 5 years, and as such, you know, Adam and I were talking that we should try to, we've always got projects in the hopper. You know, there's always things that say, well, we'll put that off to 2025 or whatever, you know, but we always got things in the hopper. But we thought we would sort of start working into that reserve a little bit. We do even see in 2022 here that we started working into it a little bit, if you see to the left there. But in the end, I think we're probably not going to be eating into that. That was because of the
LiDAR process. We had budgeted for light detection and ranging data collection. The first part of the project got done, and we, the state's coordinating with the federal government. They're running that project. We paid them for the acquisition. We need to get it reprocessed for our needs, and the federal government's running slowly right now. And there's no way it's going to happen by the end of the year. So we're budgeting for it for next year, but we're not spending that money this year, essentially.
So the bottom line here is that we're probably going to be adding, once 2022 is all work through that, we're probably going to add even some more dollars to this reserve fund when 2022 ends here. So what I'm saying is that, you know, for 2023, if you see the net figure, it's 90,000. Now, if we do in fact agree to add Mary's project, we're going to eat into this reserve fund at a little over 100,000, about $103,000 instead of 90, and which is fine. I think, in our opinion, it it would just be prudent to start utilizing some of the reserve funds, because really, I mean, it's really designed as for overall, for the purposes of modernizing land records in the county, and that's what we're doing here. So let's try to use some of those funds, in my opinion. You'll see that the main difference between 23 and 22 is really the professional services. We've added a couple projects there that Adam can talk about. Otherwise, everything is general. We are adding a big plotter again, because the current one we have is starting to age, and we'd really hate to see that thing fail in mid-year, and so we need to be a little proactive in ensuring that equipment remains viable and up to date, and that we can depend on it. And we are looking at an increase in the GIS offset as well. So what that is that we transfer every year, we transfer some dollars over into the GIS cost center to help offset GIS expenses overall. And we decided in 23 we'd increase that amount to limit the impact on the county levy, because the regular GIS office is on the county levy. So,
but a lot of their time is spent doing this type of function,
modernization. So exactly. And when you look at other counties, there are a lot of other counties that use their land records dollars to basically fund most of their GIS operations. We don't do that here. Mm-hmm. Right. We've always been a little skittish about getting too far into that. Right now, I mean, with transferring, let's say $25,000 over, it would probably offset 7 to 8% of our operations. Right now, it's probably 3 or 4%. Mm-hmm. So
as long as the money is there and we have a reserve to go from, and it's not counted on every single year.
Yes.
I mean, yes, let's help out. Right?
Yeah. But we do see expenses rising, from the levy side of it, and so we want to try to balance that a little bit here. So, we are proposing to increase that for 23. I don't know if Adam, you want to anything you need to explain on any of the projects there, sure. Or you.
So the GIS professional services for NG 911 prep are, without getting into all the technical weeds, essentially we need to work toward modernizing our data to make it compatible with a specific standard the state of Wisconsin's adopted. We're doing the easy stuff now, and we need some guidance on some of the more complex details to make sure it's not going to solve the state's problem, but then not work for our dispatch system. That would be a problem. So we're looking to budget for that, and help us work with collaboration with Outagamie County, Calumet County. The LiDAR data processing, that's the reformatting of the elevation data that the federal project's doing this year into a format that's compatible with our county. We use that internally. Consultants and engineering contractors can use that, as well as the highway department and Andy at Land and Water. The reestablished PLSS monuments, we did that last year, and we want to continue to have a rotation of them going out and identifying where those corners are. We're predominantly looking at the section corners that get knocked out in road right away. So like plows that knock them out, town road construction that knocks them out, they don't pay to have a surveyor go back and put them in. That we did on the southeast part of the county last year, and we would probably, we're moving clockwise around the county, so we would probably do the southwest part of the county next year, if in fact that gets budgeted. And then the last of those projects is georeferencing of historic aerial photos. That's a long-term.
Doug Zeller.
That's a long-term.
Oh, is that what it was? Doug?
That's a long-term need. So it doesn't provide as much short-term value up front, but having historic aerial photos, it's more than just people looking at it with nostalgia. It helps people do environmental site assessments. It helps construction projects identify, we just hit something and we don't know what the hell it is, what used to be here. So they can look back at those historic aerial photos. Right now we have a number of them. The earliest one we have online right now goes back to the 70s. We're working on one right now for this year from the 50s. We got some data from the USDA fairly cheaply for like $100, and we're having a vendor reprocess that to put that online. So that's a long-term priority. It's not something that is absolutely needed in any given year, but it adds value down the road.
The reestablish of the PLSS monuments, is that something that the county hires a surveyor to go out and do something with?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we'll put RFPs out,
Okay.
Cool. And you know, we usually get several quotes, I guess, and yeah, that's how that works. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the end, if we were to add the email, text, notification software, there must be a fancier word than that for that.
That's what their sheet.
Oh, okay.
This email and text notifications.
There you go.
That's what they have. Yeah.
Okay. So if we add that, the total expenses would go up, see, from 345,562 plus 13,7. When we do the math, equals
103,762.
103, but that's the net.
That's a net.
Yeah, the net. Sorry.
So the total expense is 62, 2. Yeah, carry the one.
It's 59262.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
359.
359.
Yeah, 262.
262. Okay. And then leaving the revenue the same, at least we propose here, gives us a total of 103,762 that we would propose to eat into reserves. 103,762.
Now, when we talk about digging into the reserves,
yeah,
there was also talk there'd be leftover money from 22. So technically it's not that high in the roundabout when we get all done.
Yeah, actually the 508,935, that's through the end of 2021. We're not going to be eating into reserves in 22 as we initially projected. So this 508,935 will probably be more on the order of 535 or 540,000.
And then minus the 100.
Then minus the 103. So we don't know until we we close out 22, exactly how much additional reserves are gonna have, but I'm estimating it's gonna be 30 to 40,000, probably higher than what, right, Adam? I don't know.
Yeah, assuming that the revenue stay on track from
Yeah, if,
your office.
you know, if we don't.
There's a few variables going together there.
Yeah. And,
And I still say it's conservative that we would be close if we were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, we could even be up to as high as 550,000 in reserves by the time 22 ends here. So, so I think it's just, you know, it'll knock it back probably into the 400,000 range, but still that's a very robust.
I mean, if we have the manpower and to be able to do all these projects, it's like, and we have the money, let's
Yeah.
go ahead and do it as long as we don't dig
Yeah.
down too far when
And-
something gets really bad.
Do we need to be concerned? Does this balance get reported in those, I don't know, every 3 years, is there a report that gets done?
Yes.
Do we have to be concerned about what our balance is, that we're not
Not-
spending it?
No,
No.
from the standpoint of the 3-year land information plan, the plan is more designed to really give us a sort of a game plan on the types of things we can that we plan to use dollars for. It doesn't mean we have to do this or we have to do that.
I just didn't think, I just was concerned that they're gonna say, hey, you guys have this pot of money, why aren't you doing
Well,
more?
There's
that's
a possibility.
But that's a possibility, and,
Right.
and we have discussed that because, and that is some of our intent here is to start knocking this back because we would rather not have to ask those or answer those questions.
Right, exactly.
Because, and, you know, and then even looking ahead further into 2024, we could imagine that we very well might, you know, eat into the reserve some more.
Have another project to,
But,
yeah.
but the
or
same,
to one of these.
the same time, we do need to be mindful of the fact that if revenues tank, it is nice to have some of those reserves there to have a cushion.
Right.
Well, we project 255 for revenue next year. Now, if that only comes out to 200 because recordings tank, we have some cushion, which is nice. So
And we want to keep enough cushion to handle the GIS and ROD and taxes, regular annual maintenance costs. To make sure that we always have enough in there for those.
Right.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, so it's a balancing act. So
but for a while there, we didn't have the manpower with COVID and everything to be able to use it. And now if we have the manpower and we can start some projects, let's go ahead and get them started.
Yep, exactly.
And that's even like with my office, we're hopefully changing out our Ithia printers and going, which is regular printers, because it's like $700 for a printer versus an outdated one that's $2,000-3,000 that's hard to find the ink for. And I'd stuck that in my own budget because I had enough money in my own to be able to do that.
Good.
So it was like one less thing that I didn't have to ask for.
Yeah, good.
Because I had it in my own, so.
Awesome.
But I don't have to pay the 70.
Right, gotcha.
Which this is the last year at that price, so I'll have to get crafty again and see. I don't know if I can probably keep it the same. It's been 6 years keeping it the same.
Yeah, the number looks familiar.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that next time, but I'll have Scott work his magic for us and see what I can do again. Tell him to be creative like he was last time.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts or comments, Mike?
No. Adam? How's he going?
He shook his head no.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Then I guess if we could have a motion to approve the amended
Right. To include the
email and tech notice for the treasurer's office.
for 13,700.
You want my questions before you make the motion? Or
Oh, yes,
or you want them
if you
after?
have questions, yes, please.
Okay. the grants that we receive, is that the $15? Is that
No,
what?
the
okay,
grant,
what's
the
that?
grant, the grant that you see
Yeah,
is a, what's called a strategic initiative grant. The state, you know, because some of these, the recording fees go down to the state, and the state uses that money for different purposes, all related to land records. So they make available some of that money for grants that can come back to counties.
okay.
Okay,
this is
so
from the
we
state.
can apply on an annual basis. Every year we apply for, and each county allows up to 50,000.
This past year, they upped it. They
Yeah.
look at their revenue. When the revenue's up, they increase it. So this year, we actually got 61,000,
Yeah,
not 51,000. But when the revenues are down, they'll knock it down to 40,000 or less, depending on.
but we anticipate $51,000 of strategic initiative grants to be available to counties. So we're going to apply for that again to help offset some of our costs here. So we make an application, and it's a very simple application, and you know, and we've never had a problem being approved. And if there's always some issue with what we intend to spend the money for, they'll let us know, and then we'll change the application as we need to. But it's never been an issue for us. So, but that's what that grant is, Paul.
Okay. Then the recording fees, is that the $8?
That's the
Yes.
$8 of every $30. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the $8.
Mhm.
Then where is the 15?
The 15 for the third of the recording fees.
Of the the $30 that
Yeah.
we keep.
That goes to
That's my register, the
Yes.
register of deeds fund. This land records only gets
Okay.
8 out of it.
Yeah.
And
So
then,
that 15 goes
right.
to your budget.
correct.
Okay. All right. All right.
And correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if we wouldn't have this committee, that $8 would also be going to the state.
That is correct. We wouldn't be in compliant with the state program, essentially. Yes.
Okay. Now I can't find that thing that I was questioning before. So there's a comment in here, something about our budget gets submitted to the county board for approval, but then it says something about we have to concern ourselves because we have sufficient income.
Because we're not on the levy. We're not on the levy. either.
Yeah, we're not on the levy. Yes.
We're not on the county levy.
Right. This
Okay.
is a self-funded through the $8.
Okay, all right. All right. Then how do you build up the reserves?
It basically, we receive the $8 of every recording. We project a given number every year for revenue. Okay. And for instance, the last couple of years, we've been way under, well, not way under, but we've been under the estimate. So, so we're actually getting more revenue than what we budgeted for. So that extra money just dumps into the reserve fund.
Okay.
And then we have expenses, Paul, that we budget every year. And we don't, and quite often we don't end up expending everything on our list for various reasons, but the money we don't expend dumps into the reserve. So it's been building up. primarily because of the revenue side of it. The revenue has been really good the last few years.
Yeah,
And so that's really been kicking up our reserves big time, so.
okay. So this is not, has nothing to do with the county exec's recommendation of zero budget increase? That
This
pertains to
particular,
you-
no, this doesn't have anything to do with that,
Okay, all right,
no.
all right.
No. He does review it, I mean, it's still part of his overall county budget, but.
No, he's not gonna wanna think about diving into this for other items, is he, to offset?
Well, I mean, he could look at that and say, you know, Jerry, why don't we use some of this to offset more of GIS than what we propose? If he did that, I don't foresee him doing, because the bigger picture is our overall budget that's on the levy is, we're at zero. Okay.
Okay.
As long as you met
As
your
long as you
target.
met,
Yeah, we met our target, and I see no reason why, but yes, he could say, you know, to help out other issues in the county overall.
but it has to maintain with,
Yeah,
It has to be related to land records.
Yeah, but he could
Mhm.
theoretically say that,
Paying
I
more
want more of
GIS,
GIS to be offset,
subsidized from here.
you know, so. I don't see him doing that. If he
Would
did,
that
I
have to
would-
come back to the committee?
No, I don't think it would, because in the end, this committee is designed to recommend to the county, in this case, county executive, planning and zoning committee, and ultimately the county board on a budget. And if John wants to do something to this, he has every right to do it and send it on the county board. We're simply providing, this group is simply an advisory group that is providing the county recommendation. This is our recommendation.
Perfect.
If John doesn't agree with it, or if the county board doesn't agree with it, you know, that's up to them. I mean, we're simply recommending a budget to them. But no, it wouldn't have to come back to this group. Unless we see something that needed to be changed before we met with, you know, before John or the county board deals with it.
well, that's why we sort of wanted to make sure, like
Yeah.
even just adding the item for
Yeah. for Mary.
treasurer's office. here.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, is there any other questions? Did you think of your other one, Paul, that you were thinking?
No, I can't find it.
Okay. Then I guess I'd like to have a motion to approve the amended budget.
So approved.
Uh,
Or first.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Show.
What?
It's the Mary and Jerry show.
Oh, well,
Okay.
It makes it easy when you do your minutes.
Yeah.
that's right.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mike said aye for the record too. Mike said aye
Mike
for the
said
record. Yeah.
I thought there was something about Zoom could not vote.
Well,
County board.
yeah, that's,
No, not what I'm hearing.
no, it's,
Was that committee?
my understanding is standing committees only. But,
Standing committees? That could be.
yeah, that's the standing committees.
That could be.
Yeah. Again, this committee or this group is simply advisory, so either way, so not to diminish our role, because we have an important role of organizing and structuring this for the county, you know, for the county executive and the county board.
Because there's so many offices coming
Yeah,
together to
right.
do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is a team effort, and so.
So, happy else's, when I guess the definition, any name,
No,
no's?
we should be good.
Motion carried. Any other questions, comments that anyone would like to make? Oh, my goodness, if not, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
Good.
At 12. All right, Liz.
Big bold decision.
At
I'm gonna get in there.
12:02.
Good job.
Started 2 minutes late and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for setting this up.
Thanks, Andy and Mike.
Adam, you'll share the recording with me, please?
Yes.
Awesome, thank you.